Hi, I'm Janika Ruuska and I'm doing my PhD in neuroscience here in Denmark. In this series, I'm gonna share tips and experience throughout the PhD, starting from how to get into PhD, which is today's topic. Welcome to the episode. When I applied to my PhD, I watched plenty of these videos from YouTube, how to get into your PhD, and I found them actually really useful. But in this video, I really hope I'm able to summarize everything you need, so you don't need to watch that many videos as I did. Before diving deep into those tips, I will share a little bit of my background so you understand from which perspective I'm looking at things. And also to give you a little bit more realistic image of the application process. Some of you may have followed my journey throughout my master's degree in neuroscience, but my journey in academia started actually way earlier. My first university level degree was in Bachelor's of Engineering, and I focused for biotech. And throughout those studies, I actually worked in industry, for example, in pharma companies. But end of my studies, I ended up kind of accidentally to academia to do research. I worked as a research assistant for 3 years before conducting my master's in neuroscience. I'm extremely happy of those years before my master's to working in academia, in addition to learning all the valuable skills when it comes to, for example, techniques and scientific writing and discussion, I got really realistic image about academia as well. And as every field, I guess, has its pros and cons, so it's important to understand if you are gonna continue and if you are gonna continue further, what you should expect realistically. So far, so including my start of my PhD, I have worked in around 7 different research groups around the world, including Australia, Finland and Denmark. So I have gained a little bit of perspective of different leadership styles, different working environments, working ethics, and most importantly, what fits for me. And what has also made this journey extremely interesting and important is that I have also worked in really different fields, including cancer research, virology, pharmacology, mental health, and I have worked in preclinics and clinics. So all of this experience have taught me what I enjoy, what I want to learn, which direction I want to take my career. And part of the learning has also happened during the PhD, and I'm assuming it will happen all the time. But just telling this to highlight that all the experience is really valuable for yourself. End of my master's, so I conducted my master's degree in neuroscience at the University of Helsinki, but I did my master's thesis at the Monash University in Australia. And after that, or actually already throughout the master's degree, I already knew that I'm gonna apply for my PhD in neuroscience. So I was 100% sure that I want that. But the journey wasn't that straightforward. After I returned from Australia back to Finland, I was full of hope that everything will go smoothly. Although I did return back to home without actually having one, because before moving to Australia, I gave my apartment and all the furniture away, so I didn't have anything where to return, and I didn't have a job at the time. But I still had the hope that soon I will continue to my PhD. But quite soon after, I realized that even though I was really competent and ready and sure that I want to do my PhD, and I got a lot of green light for people wanting to have me, that I would need to find my own funding. I also figured out that the field I have chosen, not the neuroscience in general, but the subtopics of neuroscience, what I'm the most interested in, are quite poorly funded. So there is a lot of competition and not too much money. This resulted me to apply for multiple PhD programs or PhD positions that were available around the world. And I got rejections after rejections. This application process was extremely exhausting, and I had my moments when I was thinking that I can't do this longer. But I was stubborn and I was sure that what I want and kept going, which I'm extremely happy now when I'm doing my PhD in neuroscience. When looking back, I'm actually really grateful of the time and the challenges I faced when I was applying, because that helped me to clarify even more what I want. I learned a lot how to write a good application because I did that multiple times. I was also in contact with many highly valued principal investigators around the world with whom I got the chance to chat. So I got the opportunity to learn from them and also connect with other scientists, which is really important to do throughout your career. If you are more interested in to hear detailed information about my career path, I recommend you to check behindthecv.com. So I'm keeping a blog there where I share work-related topics. But let's continue toward the tips, what you have been waiting for. First of all, this is a specific program. So these tips are especially important for this program, but of course they work for other programs as well. But keep in mind, so I'm currently Neuroscience Academy Denmark Fellow. It's a fairly new program. This was the second year it was on when I applied. And at the time there were 300 applicants and 16 got in. I will tell you on a part 2 about the program itself, but now I'm gonna focus how the application process looked like and all the tips how to prepare for the application and interviews. The structure of the application at the time, so this might be changing, but at the time it was so that you need to prepare for written application before getting into the interviews. The written application, compared to many other applications I have seen around the world, for example from US or from Finland or from Australia, is that this one is more structured and it requires less text, which has its pros and cons, because of course it's nice that you don't need to write a full book before getting into the program, but you need to be able to summarize the most important things for the application. Then, if your application is considered successful, you will be invited to the interviews. And again, at the time, the interviews included 3 parts. The first part was basically to get to know each other. So I had a chance to tell about myself and my career path and my experience and my wishes. So similar things than in the written application. In the second part, I got the chance to talk about the science I have been involved. And I chose my master's thesis. And after presenting that, we had a discussion on it. And in the third part, we had a scientific discussion around publications that I have chosen beforehand. Okay, so this was the structure of the application process, and you will get into the different parts of the interview if you have succeed in those. But this might change along the way. But the tips, how to write your application, how to get prepared for the interview, what could make you the successful candidate? I would say the first step is to get to know the program. This I can't highlight enough. I faced this tip multiple times, and in the beginning I didn't take it seriously. I did do some research, like, okay, this program I'm gonna study these things, and like a little bit understanding for what I'm applying for, of course. But I highly recommend you to actually get to know the program. Why it is a good program. It's also important for you to know to what you're applying for. See how it might differ from other programs. Then you can justify why you want into that program, how it benefits you. So they can see your motivation, that you have really thought through what you want and how they can support you in this process of becoming PhD. Also understanding the program, they usually mention what they are expecting and what they wish from the candidates. So then it's easier to you to think how you fit into this program. For example, if they are mentioning that they wish to have people who are flexible, good at fast changing environments, good at working with a group of people, So you can think how your previous experience is actually supporting all of this, why you could fit into these categories they are mentioning. The next tip might be just my opinion, but I think it's really useful opinion. I would highly recommend to plan ahead, even though you are not yet into that PhD program. Plan a little bit how your journey would look like, but at the same time, stay flexible. Especially with this program, you are gonna get chances to try several environments, research environments. So your plans might change, and it's highly recommend you to stay open, but it helps you throughout all the options you are gonna have, that you have some sort of plan in your head, some journey in your mind, like, okay, it could look like this, and I have thought through where I would like to try, what I would like to learn. Then just a general advice, be you. Show your excitement towards science. Of course, this is kind of a work interview, so you need to focus for work-related things, but often they are not looking for copy-paste people. They are looking for unique scientists who are gonna succeed in their career. So let that shine in you. Then to prepare for the written application and all the interviews, I recommend you to first prepare by yourself, do those applications and think through all of these points I have highlighted. Then ask help from others who have already done this. Ask them to read your application. Ask it from several people, because all people have their own opinions. Take the tips you think like, oh, this is actually really beneficial. And for the interviews, ask someone to have a kind of mock interview. I believe that will make the whole process more smooth. You will feel probably a little bit less stressed, and you also will get a lot of valuable feedback from these mock interviews. So ask help from other people around you who have done it already. Then when it comes to scientific discussions that were also present in the interviews, I would say a really good guideline, whether it was this interview or some other scientific discussion, is that stand up for yourself. At this point, you have already experience from science. You have been probably working with the topic quite a while, so you can have your own opinions based on the science you have worked with. You have the knowledge there. So defend your own perspectives, but stay open and curious for other perspectives as well. So you might have some knowledge, but you are not a collection of all the knowledge in this whole world. So maybe someone is able to offer you some new perspective or new knowledge, and take it. You don't need to always have an answer for the questions. You can just take this new perspective and think about it aloud. There you show that you have this certain knowledge and you are taking this new information into that and trying to fit it in. If it doesn't, then say you don't necessarily agree, but that's interesting. Or then you can be like, I haven't actually thought about this. So show that you are able to grow as a scientist. And finally, I would say, don't quit. There will be rejections ahead of you, also after the PhD. But if this is something you really want, just continue. Continue growing and continue applying. You need only one yes. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. See you on next time.